Hi, guys. Welcome to Inside the Law. I'm your host, Philip Holloway. This is a special recorded edition. This is not a live stream, but nevertheless, because today is the day we expect Michael Cohen to be cross examined in the Trump trial taking place now in Manhattan, and because it's not televised, which is very frustrating because I wish we could see how this works in real life. But this is a great opportunity to talk about impeachment of a witness. And by impeachment, what we mean is discrediting the witness so that the jury can understand perhaps that they are not reliable and they should not be used to base an important decision on, like whether or not somebody is guilty of a crime. It's not impeachment like we hear about in the context of impeaching maybe a president or a cabinet member or perhaps a judge or other elected official. It deals with impeachment of a witness. Before we get into that, though, I've got a special announcement that I want to make. This coming weekend, I am going to join my friend Eric Hunley and our friend Viva Fry at the special America's Untold Stories 2020 West Palm Beach meetup. It's Saturday, May 8th from 7 to 11 p.m. at the Holiday Inn Beach Airport. We'll be joining Eric Hunley and Mark Grubert of America's Untold Stories. It's an exclusive VIP event. So if you happen to be able to be in the area, please feel free to check it out. But I wanted to let you know that I am very, very excited to be there with my friends in person for this special event. All right, so let's talk about impeachment. All right, what exactly is impeachment? Well, impeachment of a witness deals with, as I said, let me turn the camera off so that we can focus on this. It refers to the process of discrediting or undermining the credibility of a witness during a trial by presenting evidence or asking questions that contradict the testimony, or to reveal a bias or an inconsistency, perhaps even a falsehood in the statements. It's a common strategy used by lawyers to challenge the veracity of a witness. That means the truthfulness, or to cast doubt on the reliability of their testimony. All right, so every state has their own rules of evidence, but the federal rules of evidence are fine for purposes of this discussion. So I'm going to focus in on just a few things. Before I talk about the actual rules of evidence, though, one thing that should be started with, particularly in a case like Michael Cohen, is you want to expose a witness's bias. The minute that a witness sits down in the witness chair, their biases, if they have any, either for or against either side, are very, very relevant, because it's important for the jury to understand in context, what that bias might be. So here you have an example of Michael Cohen's bias. He recently appeared on a number of TikTok videos. He's wearing a shirt that has I guess an image or drawing of Donald Trump behind bars in an orange jumpsuit. If a witness has that kind of bias, it's important to let the jury know that right out of the gate, because it shapes sort of how the rest of their testimony might be perceived. Um, so if I were doing it, I would absolutely lead with that. Now, in addition, we have this. We have the TikTok videos that Michael Cohen has been famously now making for days or even weeks, where he is basically, he's making money off of it. He's getting followers. He's getting sort of his, I guess, personal star is on the rise, if you will, in terms of public relations. So he is using this trial as an event to enhance his own image. Okay, so that is a great example of bias. Now, in addition, a lawyer will always use this is Federal Rule 609, but each state has something very similar, if not exactly like this. Impeachment by evidence of a criminal conviction. In this case, Michael Cohen has felony convictions. He's been convicted, of lying to banks. He's been accused, I think, of tax fraud. In addition, there are other things that maybe he's done that weren't criminal convictions, but that were maybe lying in other contexts. I'll get to that in a minute. But for purposes of this particular rule, a judge will tell a jury before they deliberate, the judge will tell them that if a witness has been convicted of a felony, that you can basically disregard the entirety of their testimony. Okay. In this particular case, the felonies have to do with dishonesty, and those are particularly powerful. It's not like a felony conviction for, having a fight with somebody and maybe hitting them over the head with a lamp. That would be something involving violence. That's bad enough. But a conviction involving dishonesty or false statements is particularly compelling in the context of how you cross-examine a witness to show that they are not worthy of belief. Speaking of being not worthy of belief, let's talk about prior statements. In this case, I mean prior inconsistent statements. It would probably take hours and hours and hours to catalog all of the inconsistent statements that Michael Cohen has made with regard to his former, I guess, client, President Trump, related to the issues involved in this case. But if I were trying this case and I had the resources to document it, what I would do is I would bring out and I would use visuals and audiovisual aids if I had them, and you catalog one by one by one each and every prior inconsistent statement. The way it works is you confront the witness with the prior inconsistent statement. You ask a question like, on direct examination, you said the sky is blue, but isn't it true, Mr. Cohen, that in the past you've said something very different? And either he says yes or either he says no. And it doesn't matter what his answer to that follow-up question is. You then proceed to say, isn't it true that on such and such date, such and such time, in this whatever context, you said something different. And then you go through it and you play it or you show it to him in the presence of the jury, which shows the jury that he is somebody who talks out of both sides of his mouth, somebody who blows hot and cold at the same time. And it's just another reason why a jury should consider this to be a reason why they should basically not believe the testimony. It goes to the credibility and the veracity, which is the truthfulness of his testimony. All right. So that has to do with prior inconsistent statements. And with Michael Cohen, to catalog all of those could take hours, if not days. All right. The next way, and this is a really, really good way, I think, to cross-examine a witness when you have evidence having to do with their character for truthfulness or untruthfulness. And the way this works is you find people who are familiar with that witness's character or reputation for being truthful. And you bring the people in, and whether you bring 5, 10, or 20, you don't want to overdo it. But you bring individuals in who say they know this person, they are familiar with this person's character for truthfulness, and you basically ask them, would you believe them under oath? And so with Michael Cohen, I mean, there are plenty of examples. And the other day I did on Mother's Day, I want you to go back and look at the live the replay of the live video that I did regarding Michael Cohen and some of the same issues. You can bring in lots of people with lots of examples, like we talked about on Mother's Day, of situations where he has said things that weren't true. In fact, a federal judge recently accused him of lying under oath when he tendered his guilty plea. So when you tender a guilty plea in court, you raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth, you're under oath, and you have to admit that you did the thing that you're charged with, and you do it under oath. Now, there's a couple of exceptions to that that are not really relevant for this discussion, but when you plead guilty, you've got to admit certain things under oath. He went back and he applied to the court for basically a reduction in his sentence, and the judge had pointed out that he had apparently lied when he either when he testified in the guilty plea hearing or when he testified in the Donald Trump civil case, the civil fraud case, where Judge Engeron pointed out that Cohen had testified under oath in that New York civil case. He testified that he lied under oath when he pleaded guilty. Now, both of those things can't be true. Either he lied when he pleaded guilty under oath, or he lied to Judge Engeron under oath. One of those things is true, and at this point, it's very, very difficult to figure out which one is true. More likely than not, in my opinion, he lied to Judge Engeron. Nevertheless, he absolutely, I think, in my opinion, conclusively lied under oath. So this is his reputation, his character, if you will, for truthfulness. So you bring up a number of people, bring them in. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 10, whatever. You don't want to overdo it, but you show the jury that people who know him, who are familiar with him, would not believe him under oath. If he says the sky is blue, they would doubt it. Okay. And I would probably fall into that category myself, because I don't think that he really is somebody who's worthy of belief. All right, so there you have it. There's a very brief overview of how impeachment works in the context of the Donald Trump civil trial involving, among other people, Michael Cohen, who is a convicted felonious liar. And so you can use this as an opportunity to understand how the real justice system works, because that's what we do here inside the law. We talk about how the real system works, and we do so in the context of cases that are in the news right now. So go ahead and do me a favor, hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so, because we are here to help you learn about how things work in real life. And if you have an intellectual curiosity about how things work in the real world, this is the channel to do that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this very brief summary, and I want to refer you back to the longer live version we did just the other day on Mother's Day for more on impeachment of a witness. We'll see you back here next time inside the law.